Chapter 1824. Fighting against Enichen. Brother Wen, you're really nice. I am touched by your kindness. Qingdi Mountain will remember it. Who else from the 9 great celestial castles is willing to help? Asked Emperor Enichen icily. The other leaders didn't know if Yaoyi Island was there or not. After all, they couldn't really fight against Yaoyi Island. They still had to make a decision, however. Now, what could they do? Who would control this place in the future? The people of the 9 great celestial castles noticed something. Emperor Enichen could perfectly deal with Lin Feng, but he hadn't yet. He was waiting for them to make a decision. In the distance, someone appeared. The members of Celestial Qi Castle looked at that person respectfully. Their leader was here. Celestial Qi Castle will help Qingdi Mountain, of course. Let's destroy Tiantai, said the leader of Celestial Qi Castle icily. Celestial Qi Castle hated Lin Feng. They had to destroy him and his friends. On top of that, if they didn't kill Lin Feng, maybe he would wipe them out someday. Besides, by helping Qingdi Mountain, they would earn a better position in the region and more influence. Back then, Lin Feng had caused trouble in Celestial Qi Castle, and they had also lost control over the small world. Now, it was time for them to rise again. The cultivators of Tiantai will die here today, said the sect leader of the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. The crowd was shaking. 3 leaders and Enichen were joining hands to deal with Tiantai, 4 high-level emperors. Tiantai was in danger. They were probably going to be annihilated. Those who had chosen to stay in Tiantai started shaking. How dangerous! Very good, Enichen smiled. He then said, since the 6 other leaders don't want to help, I'm not going to force them either. When the 3 leaders heard Enichen, they smiled coldly. After that battle, Qingdi Mountain was going to favor them. Celestial Wen Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings are going to be wiped off the map of the 9 great celestial castles, retorted Lin Feng icily. You are really impatient, but don't worry, you're going to die very soon, rebutted Emperor Enichen loftily. He waved his hand and cosmic energies condensed around Lin Feng. A gigantic hand appeared, blotting out the sky. Oppress! Shouted Enichen icily. It was as if the sky were collapsing. The gigantic hand descended on Lin Feng. Lin Feng sensed the oppressive energies. High-level emperors could easily condense cosmic energies to carry out attacks. The difference between high-level emperors and low-level emperors was gigantic. Dazzling lights appeared, and scorching hot suns started shining. A sun disk appeared in Lin Feng's hand and suns started rotating around him. He waved his hand and a gigantic sun moved towards the gigantic hand which was descending from the sky. Thunderous explosions erupted above them as the gigantic hand exploded. Lin Feng rose up into the air holding his sun disk, looking like a sun god. Great Imperial Weapon? Enichen frowned, staring at Lin Feng's weapon. Was that Lin Feng's trump card? A Great Imperial Weapon? The 3 leaders of the castles were staring at Lin Feng too. Great Imperial weapons were extremely rare. They rarely had the opportunity to see such weapons, and surprisingly, Lin Feng had one. Indeed, a Great Imperial Weapon. You want it? Lin Feng smiled coldly. Dazzling lights lit up and a gigantic chessboard appeared. Celestial Evolution Chessboard. As it floated in the air, Lin Feng jumped on it and it lit up dazzlingly as the pieces on it started moving around. Is that a Great Imperial Weapon as well? Enichen wondered, staring at the chessboard. The chi of Celestial Evolution Chessboard wasn't so dominating, so he couldn't see what level it was. That Great Imperial Weapon is mine, said Enichen icily. Lin Feng had Great Imperial Weapons, so what? Enichen had a high cultivation level, he could steal them from Lin Feng. Die! Enichen gestured. A gigantic mountain appeared in the sky above Lin Feng. It started falling from the sky. Lin Feng condensed fire cosmic energies in his sun disk. 9 dazzling suns appeared. Piss off! Lin Feng gestured, thunder rolled, and the gigantic mountain broke apart. Enichen started forwards as the energy in the air grew thicker. Dong. Enichen raced towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng had the impression he had a mountain riding on his back. High-level emperors could easily pressure him. They were much, much stronger than medium-level emperors. Don't. Enai Chen jumped again. Lin Feng sensed his blood had started boiling everywhere in his body, as if he were going to explode. This is good for my physical body. Lin Feng relaxed and let the strength press down on him. Finally, Enai Chen jumped forward again. The energy he was exuding was terrifying. His hand struck at Lin Feng. Lin Feng might explode if the hand reached him. Illusion. Lin Feng jumped away. Celestial Evolution chessboard became even more dazzling as space bent. An illusion deployment spell appeared, surrounding Enai Chen within. Inside the illusion, Enai Chen was surrounded by millions of Lin Fengs. This chessboard can help him cast deployment spells? Thought Enai Chen. He released his strength again and attacked the illusion. However, nothing happened, and on top of that, he saw a gigantic sun moving towards him, preceded by rolling thunder. At the same time, under Enai Chen's feet, marks appeared and a mighty strength rose up and surrounded him. Enai Chen immediately started moving away, but an earth cage appeared under his feet. Boom! Endless purple lights appeared in the sky. Lightning! Millions of bolts had appeared in the sky and Lin Feng's face appeared among them. Enai Chen looked at the sky, releasing earth energy to block the lightning. Thunder kept exploding around him. Suddenly, Enai Chen saw another Lin Feng appear, 9 suns charging him, so dazzling that he could barely see. Why are there 2 Lin Fengs? Wondered Enai Chen, calmly releasing his strength again. As Enai Chen stared at the new Lin Feng, a third one appeared. Enai Chen pulled a long face. A third Lin Feng had appeared. Enai Chen was annoyed. Unfortunately, he didn't have a powerful imperial weapon. He had a few level 6 and 7 imperial weapons, but against Lin Feng's weapons, they were useless. The 3 Lin Fengs surrounded him inside the illusion. Enai Chen couldn't really attack while inside the illusion, and started crazily attacking in all directions. Die! Suddenly, a gigantic ancient stone emerged from Enai Chen's third eye and moved towards Lin Feng's silhouettes. Lin Feng's soul shook violently. He knew that Enai Chen could destroy his godly awareness. He was a high-level emperor. His godly awareness was far more powerful than Lin Feng's. Hide! Lin Feng's 3 clones hid in the illusion. Enai Chen grimaced. Fighting inside a deployment spell wasn't easy. Enai Chen, back then, you wanted me to cripple my own cultivation. Today, I will cripple your cultivation, proclaimed Lin Feng. Enai Chen frowned. Then he saw many of Lin Feng's clones reappear. There. Enai Chen picked out 2 clones. They had great imperial weapons in their hands. He had to attack those 2. As expected, the 2 clones attacked and charged at Enai Chen. At the same time, a third Lin Feng was carving more deployment marks. Enai Chen smiled coldly. An armor made of earth energy appeared around him, and he raced ahead. He had to kill Lin Feng, who was carving deployment marks, but he couldn't forget about the 2 others either. Imprison! Shouted Enai Chen icily. The Lin Feng who was carving marks appeared in a cage. Earth strength surrounded him and constricted him. That clone pulled a long face. Die! Shouted Enai Chen furiously. A gigantic hand thrust at Lin Feng. Arg! Energies rose to the skies. A purple tank appeared and streaked across the sky. However, at that moment, Enai Chen was determined to kill Lin Feng. The problem was that Lin Feng's clones were all around him. Die! Enai Chen was fearless. A Lin Feng in the air released cosmic energies and attacked. It had to be his real body. Die! However, at that moment, another Lin Feng appeared on Enai Chen's left, and Enai Chen's expression shifted. How could this happen? Piss off! Shouted Enai Chen furiously. At the same time, another Lin Feng appeared on Enai Chen's right. Suddenly, Enai Chen had a bad premonition. Oh no! Enai Chen suddenly turned around and saw Kulpa lights move towards him at full speed. His armor broke apart. He was shocked. And a fist of pure physical strength attacked him directly. His heart started pounding violently. Chapter 1825. Death better than life? How could that happen? Are the clones with the great imperial weapons not real? Is the third one real? Enai Chen's face turned deathly pale as the fist landed. Destructive Devamara Culpa strength blew throughout his body. Enai-chan didn't have the strength to strike back. His body turned gray. Die! Enai-chan had the sensation that his body was going to explode. He shouted furiously and released all his strength towards Lin Feng. However, at that moment, bolts of lightning assaulted him. Cosmic strength started condensing as if we're about to tear him apart. I can easily kill you, Lin Feng stated icily. He condensed physical strength and punched Enai-chan again. Enai-chan coughed up blood. Die, die, die. Enai-chan was going crazy. He condensed soul strength, trying to attack Lin Feng's godly awareness. You want to die? Lin Feng punched Enai-chan's head, and Enai-chan's soul shook violently. He had the feeling he was really going mad. Lin Feng only stared at him icily. Enai-chan wanted to leave his physical body. If you dare leave your body, I'll crush it and you won't have one anymore, Lin Feng said instantly, and Enai-chan immediately returned his body. His physical body was badly injured, he was very weak, and if he left his body, Lin Feng could crush it. His soul would be without a body and he would become weaker and would then disperse. He might be able to use the body capture technique, but that was easier said than done. Don't worry, I won't kill you, I'll just cripple your cultivation. If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have made such efforts, said Lin Feng emotionlessly. He kept punching Enai-chan, whose veins exploded one after another. Indeed, Lin Feng also wanted to practice in battle. Otherwise, he could have brought Enai-chan into his soul world. There Enai-chan wouldn't have been able to use cosmic energies properly, and Lin Feng would have easily killed him. At that moment, outside of the illusion, the crowd was staring at Celestial Evolution chessboard. They were wondering how the battle was going. Why hadn't the fighters coming back yet? At that moment, the illusion gradually dispersed. Finally, the two silhouettes appeared in the people's field of vision. Their hearts started pounding violently. At that moment, Enai-chan was softly lying on the ground, as if he had had no bones. He looked furious and desperate. Nobody dared say anything. Emperor Enai-chan lost. What a tragedy for him. The crowd was astonished and staring at Lin Feng. A Zun cultivator who had the strength of a low-level emperor had defeated Enai-chan, a high-level emperor of Qingdi Mountain. Tiantai's people clenched their fists. They had made the right decision. They had decided to stay in Tiantai, and Lin Feng had defeated a high-level emperor. He had won. It was an incredible achievement. The members of the 9 great celestial castles looked furious. Lin Feng's words weren't empty words. He could really pose a threat to them. Lin Feng had defeated Enai-chan, which meant that he could also fight against the leaders of the 9 great celestial castles. He dared make his disciple fight against Lin Feng? That moronic old dude is ridiculous. Tiantai said heartily at that moment. Lin Feng had defeated a high-level emperor. That was an unbelievable feat, even if high-level emperors here weren't as strong as the high-level emperors in the Holy City. There was a huge difference between Lin Feng and him. Such achievements were rare. Yuan Fei, Ban Ruo, and the others were astonished, their mouths gaping. They had never thought that Lin Feng could be so scary. Let Emperor Enai-chan off, shouted the leader of Celestial Wind Castle icily. The 3 sect leaders walked forwards and released their energies, staring at Lin Feng. They had to kill him. They had chosen the other side. They were Lin Feng's enemies. Bzz. A strong wind started blowing. Zhu Nemo Shi, Qing Feng, and Wu moved quickly and landed next to Lin Feng. They wanted to get involved? They wanted to fight against high-level emperors? The crowd was stunned at the implications. A piercing whistle rose. A supernatural bird appeared in the crowd's field of vision. 3-legged golden crow, a supernatural bird. The crowd was stupefied. The bird next to Lin Feng was dazzling and gigantic, and wearing a sun helm. Sunlight surrounded his body, and his strength was oppressive. Wu looked at the 3 leaders icily, making them pause. A great imperial weapon again. It's much more powerful than Lin Feng's sun disk. Such weapons are perfect for sun's supernatural birds. Junimo she started releasing hell energies too. His chi rose to the skies, and a spear appeared in his hand, a hell spear containing the strength of the king of hell. Qing Feng also released energies. She was surrounded by black lights and bestial qi dashed to the skies. She was wearing a terrifying black Taoist robe made of feathers. Even though she didn't condense energies in it, the crowd guessed that it was a weapon. All those young people had terrifying great imperial weapons. Who could compete with them? Who are you? Lin Feng, which group did you join? Cried out Enai Qin. They all had great imperial weapons. A group couldn't have so many great imperial weapons without a celestial emperor backing them. And all those people had special bodies too. Their qi was terrifying. The three-legged golden crow was a supernatural bird. Qing Feng controlled several sorts of cosmic energies. Ju Nemo, she had a monarchic hell qi. Such people couldn't belong to the same group. You are not qualified to speak with me, spat Wu sharply. It was the second time that he talked down to Enai Qin, and the second time that he humiliated him. The first time, the crowd wondered, but now nobody dared underestimate Wu. Even the leaders of Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings didn't dare say anything. The Golden Crows were known to be unruly and obstinate. Was he from Yaoyi Island? Now piss off and go back. Wait for me, I'll come to destroy your groups, Lin Feng said to the three leaders icily. Destroy their groups? They were three high-level emperors, but Lin Feng had already destroyed Emperor Enai Qin. His strength was unfathomable and enigmatic. He could probably compete with those three people. Wu and the two others were also very strong. Those three emperors had to be careful. Even if they managed to defeat Lin Feng, killing him wouldn't be easy. Qingdi Mountain has two great emperors. This battle is not worth it. Qingdi Mountain can take care of themselves, thought the leader of Celestial Wind Castle, before saying to Lin Feng icily, let Emperor Enai Qin go. I don't need that piece of trash. You can take him back. From now on, Tiantai determines the laws and rules of the region. Qingdi Mountain has nothing to say anymore, Lin Feng snarled back, before throwing Emperor Enai Qin away. The leader of Celestial Wind Castle jumped up and caught him. Emperor Enai Qin was very weak and seriously injured. He had wanted to kill Lin Feng, but he had failed. Now, the great emperors would deal with Lin Feng. Even if he had great imperial weapons, they were useless against such powerful folk. Besides, the great emperors of Qingdi Mountain would love those weapons. Aren't you leaving? Are you waiting for death? Lin Feng asked the three leaders icily. The three leaders departed quickly, but the crowd was still there. They all watched those incredible young people. Why didn't we kill them? Wu asked Lin Feng. He had been ready to fight. Surprisingly, Lin Feng hadn't killed them. We're not in a rush. We'll have opportunities to fight against them. They can wait for us, replied Lin Feng. Then, his silhouette flickered before he landed in front of the white-bearded old man of the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. He said, Look, the people of the Palace of the Medicinal Kings abandoned you. You're pathetic. The white-bearded old man looked extremely miserable. Lin Feng had defeated Enai Qin. He understood that he was a piece of trash in comparison with Lin Feng and his friends. Death was better than such a life. Chapter 1826. No choice. The white-bearded old man looked extremely weak as he said, I'm going to die now, I guess. Please, before I die, could you please tell me where you are from? I really want to know. The old man had seen Lin Feng defeat Enai Qin. These young people had great imperial weapons. He knew that Lin Feng and those people had to belong to some incredible and powerful group. Yaoyi Island's great emperor was enigmatic and unfathomable, but he was only a great emperor. From what he knew, there was no celestial emperor in Yaoyi Island, so they couldn't have great imperial weapons. Even if they did, they wouldn't have given them to these young people. Do you know anything about the central part of the Dark Night region? Asked Lin Feng, lowering his eyes to look at the weak old man on the ground. I've heard of the Dark Night region. I know that there are 18 main cities there and that among those, 3 of them are major cities. There are incredible strong cultivators there. Emperors there are common, and there are even many great emperors, celestial emperors. I also know that there are universities in those cities which accept only incredible geniuses. I also know that some people who amaze the whole world live there. Initially, I wanted to stay here for another 10 years and go on a trip. I wanted to do some sightseeing, explore the world, and become stronger. Unfortunately, I'm doomed now. The old man looked miserable and extremely sad. He had lived for 1,000 years, spending most of his life in region of the 9 great celestial castles. He had traveled a bit, but he had always come back quickly because he was notorious in the 9 great celestial castles, but in the outside world, people didn't even know of him. He had been a medium-level emperor for a very long time, so initially he wanted to go and travel, maybe that he would have had the opportunity to become a high-level emperor in the outside world. We come from those central places in the Dark Night region. You can die content, said Lin Feng in a low voice. The white-bearded old man's eyes glittered. He looked at Lin Feng deeply, and then he at Wu and the others. Then he smiled indifferently. I see. Indeed, I can die content. Go back to Tiantai, said Lin Feng suddenly. In a flash, everybody left. The crowd watched Tiantai's people go. Their expressions were strange. They weren't going to forget this day for a very long time. They had seen a low-level emperor defeat a high-level emperor. They had seen great imperial weapons. And it wasn't over. If Qingdi Mountain didn't manage to destroy Tiantai, Tiantai would rise and they would take control of the region. The white-bearded old man closed his eyes. Without wasting time, he killed himself. The palace of the medicinal kings had abandoned him. He had become useless, a piece of trash. Living had already become pointless for him. However, someone didn't leave, Tiantai. He stayed in the air, glaring at those who had abandoned Tiantai icily, and declared, Lin Feng said he forgave you. However, I am not as nice. You came to Tiantai to obtain precious treasures, and when we were in danger, you betrayed Tiantai? Do you think such things are possible? Those people suddenly looked petrified. Crackling and shattering sounds spread in the air as if all his bones were about to explode. A lion roared and the sky appeared to start breaking. The atmosphere became eerily silent. Qi rolled in waves, and endless lions emerged. Thunder shook, and people started exploding one after another. Those who didn't die are lucky, said Tiantai icily, before his mountainous figure blurred and was gone. The survivors' hearts were pounding. Even though he was young, he was very aggressive and very strong. Lin Feng and the others headed back to Tiantai. However, the atmosphere was lively in the 9 great celestial castles, especially in the buffer zone. People were all talking about the same thing. Tiantai. Tiantai remained discreet on the next day. Emperor Chen had already informed the great emperors of Qingdi Mountain about Tiantai. He had told them everything, including the great imperial weapons. The 2 emperors didn't really care about what happened in that region, but great imperial weapons were interesting to them. Besides, Qingdi Mountain had also been humiliated. Celestial Qi Castle and the palace of the medicinal kings joined hands. Many strong cultivators from the 2 groups began gathering. People kept traveling and back and forth between the 2 groups. Lin Feng could attack any time, so they were waiting for the great emperors of Qingdi Mountain to go and destroy Tiantai. In Tiantai, a new group of people appeared. This time, their target wasn't Celestial Wen Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, or the Palace of the Medicinal Kings, but the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Back then, Lin Feng had landed in the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and had caused trouble. Therefore, the crowd there was worried. Nobody could stop Lin Feng and his friends. That was plain after he defeated Chen. Apart from the leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, nobody could compete with Lin Feng. Lin Feng wants to see the sect leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, shouted Lin Feng extremely loudly. Everybody there heard him. Very quickly, a group of people came out of a palace and rose up into the air. Lin Feng was standing in the air 1,000 meters away from them. The leader of the group was wearing a golden robe. He smiled in careful greeting at Lin Feng. Brother Lin Feng, you're a hero. Why have you come to the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness? I said it for everyone to hear. I'm going to destroy Celestial Wen Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. From now on, Tiantai determines the laws and rules of the region. Qingdi Mountain has nothing to say anymore. Does the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness accept that? Lin Feng asked clearly. He sounded calm and serene, but at the same time, deadly aggressive. The members of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness pulled a long face. Lin Feng had defeated Enai Qin, his friends, and he had also killed many people from the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. Now he was at the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and straightforwardly told them that they were now the rulers of the region. How arrogant! We don't want to get involved, said the sect leader with a bland smile. He didn't agree, but he didn't refuse either. Qingdi Mountain and Lin Feng were now competing for the leadership of the region. Expressing an opinion wasn't wise in such times. You don't want to get involved? Repeated Lin Feng, smiling coldly. Was that possible? Back then, when I left, you wanted to kill me. Today, I'm here and I didn't come for revenge, I'm giving you an opportunity. And now you're telling me you don't want to get involved? Ridiculous, said Lin Feng coldly. I'm asking you one more time, do you accept these words or not? When Lin Feng finished talking, he took out his Celestial Evolution chessboard. The pieces started moving and fell lights glittered. The members of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness shivered. They had to make a decision, otherwise Lin Feng would attack them. The leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness grimaced. Lin Feng posed a threat to them. If they went against Tian Tai, then Tian Tai would destroy them. If you use strength to take over the region, then of course we agree. We have no choice, replied the leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Tian Tai was dangerous. Okay, great. You don't need to worry about anything then. Now, let's get ready. Gather the strong cultivators of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. We're going to Celestial Qi Castle. You have 10 minutes, said Lin Feng. The members of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness were astonished. As expected, Lin Feng wanted them to fight against Celestial Qi Castle on their side. They had no choice in the matter. Sect leader, did you hear me? You have 10 minutes, Lin Feng said impatiently. All right, we're coming, sighed the leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Then he waved his hand, and strong cultivators from his sect gathered around him. Lin Feng noticed Zhou Tianxiao in the crowd. Lin Feng looked at him on purpose. Zhou Tianxiao noticed that Lin Feng was looking at him, but didn't dare look him in the eyes. He remembered what had happened in the small world. He had told Lin Feng he didn't deserve being called a cultivator, and now he was terrified when Lin Feng looked at him. Lin Feng smiled mockingly and turned his head. Zhou Tianxiao clenched his fists, but he couldn't do anything. Chapter 1827. Easy targets. When the leader of Celestial Wen Castle heard that, he remained silent. Lin Feng was terrifying. If he came to Celestial Wen Castle, the situation was bad for them. He could really destroy Celestial Wen Castle. Gathering with their allies was the best thing to do. However, Celestial Qi Castle was gigantic. They certainly couldn't bring all of their cultivators over to Celestial Wen Castle. And even if they did, the two great emperors would then get rid of Tian Tai, and after that, what? Everybody would make fun of Celestial Qi Castle in the region. Everybody would laugh if Celestial Qi Castle was so scared of Lin Feng that they had to escape. Leader, even if Tian Tai and his friends come here, he won't do anything if you and the others are not here, said that cultivator of Celestial Wen Castle. The leader's eyes twinkled. This guy would help him find an excuse to leave. You're right. Help me call the most outstanding cultivators of Celestial Qi Castle and tell them to gather. We're going to Celestial Wen Castle, said the leader. His interlocutor quickly went out and called all the direct descendants of Celestial Qi Castle. After a short time, they had gathered in the palace, and the leader of Celestial Qi Castle led them away. After they left, Lin Feng and the others arrived in Celestial Qi Castle and released Qi. Lin Feng and the others directly landed in the central part of Celestial Qi Castle and shouted, "People from Tian Tai and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness have come to visit you." Nobody replied to him though. Only one person appeared and looked at Lin Feng and the others. He shouted, "The leader was invited over by Celestial Wen Castle. They're in Celestial Wen Castle now. You can go there if you want to see them." They ran away? Tantai looked surprised and shouted, "They're hiding. Why say they were invited by Celestial Wen Castle? Ridiculous." Lin Feng's eyes were twinkling. He fixedly stared at that guy. The man was terrified. Death energies penetrated into his eyes. His life was being corroded. Die, Lin Feng ordered coldly. That person turned gray and collapsed. Lin Feng, you are so mean, sneered someone at that moment, and some other people appeared. Mean? When Celestial Qi Castle humiliated people in the small world, nobody said they were mean. Now, your leader has run away and abandoned you. Does he think that Celestial Qi Castle will not be destroyed because he ran away? Said Lin Feng icily. In the past, they were prey for Celestial Qi Castle, but now Celestial Qi Castle was too weak to deal with Lin Feng and his friends. That was the law of the jungle. Strong cultivators could kill weak cultivators. Many people had died because of them, and many people had become slaves. If Lin Feng hadn't saved Yuan Fei and the others, they would have perished at Celestial Qi Castle. Leader, I think you can take care of Celestial Qi Castle, said Lin Feng to the leader of the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. He glanced at Lin Feng coldly, but he had no choice. All right, said the leader. He waved and said to his people, kill everyone who has broken through to the Huang Qi layer and cripple the cultivation of every one of the Zun Qi layer and under. He's quite cruel, thought Lin Feng. He was surprised. Celestial Qi Castle was going to be annihilated. Lin Feng, I'm sorry, but it seems that the core members of Celestial Qi Castle are not here anymore. We have to do things quickly and then go to Celestial Wen Castle to kill the rest, said the leader of the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness emotionlessly. Since they had agreed to help Lin Feng, they did their best. Celestial Qi Castle could threaten the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, so they had to kill everyone. No rush, said Lin Feng with an agreeable smile. He understood what the other meant. At the same time, in the Palace of the Medicinal Kings, other events were taking place. Some people had gone to kill them, but this time, the killers weren't people from the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, and they weren't from Tiantai either. They were from Celestial Si Kong Castle. How could Lin Feng forget Celestial Si Kong Castle? He hadn't. As he was on his way to the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, he had sent Hu Yu, Junimo Shi, and some others to Celestial Si Kong Castle. He had told them to give them a choice just like he had done with the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. Initially, Celestial Si Kong Castle wanted to go and hide in the Palace of the Medicinal Kings, but in the end, they had had no choice since the heroic cultivators of Tiantai had arrived. Tiantai had forced them to come with them to the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. Lin Feng's enemies were slowly being annihilated. Finally, Celestial Wen Castle was the last one remaining. Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings were already depopulated. Soon, Tiantai's cultivators would head to Celestial Wen Castle. The situation looked bad for them. Many people rushed over to Celestial Wen Castle to watch. Tiantai, Celestial Si Kong Castle, and the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness were all heading to Celestial Wen Castle. When everybody landed, the emperors of both sides faced one another. The members of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings were furious, their eyes all bloodshot and staring at their enemies icily. They already knew that the territories and people of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings had been annihilated. Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, Celestial Si Kong Castle, very good, shouted someone icily. The strong cultivators of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings were devastated. They didn't know how Tiantai had destroyed their people and territories, but the result was obvious. A wise man understands and submits to circumstances. Since Tiantai now reigns over the region, they decided to join us. That's logical, said Lin Feng calmly. The members of the great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Si Kong Castle were furious, but didn't show it. They initially didn't intend to follow Lin Feng, but he had threatened and forced them. They had had no choice in the matter. Lin Feng, the great emperors of Qingdi Mountain are coming, you will die soon, shouted the sect leader of Celestial Qi Castle. Lin Feng looked at him disdainfully, since it's that way, I'll destroy you before they come. The great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Si Kong Castle listened to my orders. Lin Feng released a terrifying qi. 6 extremely strong groups were facing off against one another. "Kill them," ordered Lin Feng, pointing at those people. The strong cultivators of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Sea Kong Castle rushed forward and threw themselves at the enemies. Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings' people also ran towards their enemies. The cultivators of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Celestial Kings of Medicine seemed to be the strongest. Fury gave them wings. What a terrifying battle, thought some people in the distance. When the battle started, the cultivators of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Sea Kong Castle were furious. Lin Feng was releasing a powerful qi, but he remained motionless. All the members of Tiantai actually remained motionless. Bastards, thought those people, but it was useless, they couldn't do anything. The members of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings had already gone crazy. After realizing that Tiantai wasn't participating, they fought even harder. They wanted to destroy the cultivators of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Sea Kong Castle as fast as possible. Tiantai was making all those people fight. The battle was tragic. After that battle, they'd become the only winners. They weren't losing anyone. The other forces were weakening, however. Those who didn't participate in the battles were those who had never had any problem with Lin Feng. Emperors fell from the sky. Cosmic energies kept dispersing as great cultivators died. The watchers were astonished at the sight. Lin Feng finally moved. His celestial evolution chessboard appeared and became gigantic. He also took out his sun disk. Junimo Shi took out his hell spear. Wu turned into a bird, his sun helm dazzling. Qing Feng was wearing her Taoist robe made of feathers. Hu Yu was smiling as she watched all this. That little boy was impressive, she was pleasantly surprised. She wasn't worried at all, she could just watch. She didn't need to help them. Chapter 1828, Strong Cultivators Landing. The crowd was astounded. This time, the situation of the 9 great celestial castles was truly going to change drastically. Many people fought. 5 of the 9 great celestial castles were here, and so was Tiantai. There were many strong cultivators. The members of Celestial Wind Castle were getting crushed, injured, or killed one after another. This battle was shocking. Tiantai's people finally started fighting. Lin Feng was holding a great imperial weapon and was continually killing people. Each time he moved, he killed someone, and another strong cultivator fell from the sky. Junimo Shi and the others were merciless. Junimo Shi's hell spear turned into 1,000,000 gloomy spears. Each time someone tried to pass him, he killed them. The Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Sea Kong Castle couldn't do much. They had to fight, they had to kill. Tiantai's people were just killing easy targets, the people who tried to escape. They were there to kill. Lin Feng and the others had great imperial weapons, nobody could compete with them. The leaders of the opposite side were fighting against the leaders of Celestial Sea Kong Castle and the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness. They were also trying to buy time, hoping the great emperors of Qingdi Mountain would arrive. Chen was standing at the top of a castle in Celestial Wind Castle, watching the Great War. He was astonished. Tiantai was truly cruel the way they were taking over the 9 great celestial castles. The great emperors of Qingdi Mountain are going to arrive soon. You will die when they arrive, thought Chen. His cultivation had been crippled, but he still looked furious, hoping Lin Feng and his friends would be killed quickly. Emperors kept falling from the sky one after another. Emperor Chen's heart was pounding. So many strong cultivators were dying, what a tragedy, they were dying so quickly. At that moment, a strong wind started whistling. A terrifying and oppressive energy invaded the atmosphere. All the fighters started trembling. "Stop!" shouted a very loud voice. Someone new appeared and descended from the sky. That person looked calm and serene, majestic and dignified. People who were fighting like madmen stopped and raised their heads to watch. The cultivators of Celestial Wind Castle were ecstatic. Finally, the great emperor of Qingdi Mountain, it had to be. Great Emperor Qing. Chen looked crazy with joy. Finally, Great Emperor Qing had arrived. Emperor Enai started crying, his heart was pounding, and his cheeks were flushed. Great Emperor Qing was going to avenge him, he was going to kill Lin Feng and destroy Tiantai. The silhouette in the sky became more and more distinct. The crowd had thought they'd see an old man, but instead, a young man appeared. He was remarkably young, but his expression was sharp and fearsome. Great Emperor Qing was old, but his cultivation level was so high that he had rejuvenated. It's a soul, thought Lin Feng, watching the silhouette in the sky. The great emperor glanced at Lin Feng and the other, and at their great imperial weapons. He said coldly, "Come and talk." Lin Feng rose up into the air. He was on his celestial evolution chessboard and he holding his sun disk. He looked remarkably calm. Suddenly, a terrifying and oppressive energy surrounded him. His soul was shaking, as if the great emperor could kill him anytime. Lin Feng just frowned and glanced at him coldly. "You insolent little boy, be polite and respectful when you see a great emperor," said Great Emperor Qing coldly, and the pressure on Lin Feng's body became more intense. "You're just a soul," retorted Lin Feng coldly. Great Emperor Qing grunted icily and released even more strength. "You insolent little bastard," said Great Emperor Qing. Lin Feng groaned icily, the oppressive strength was painful. His sun disk became even more dazzling as it released more energies. Lin Feng rose higher up in the air and stared at Great Emperor Qing. They were at the same level in the air, which was a sign of disrespect. Lin Feng should have been lower than him. "Since you're here, I wanted to tell you something. From now on, Tiantai rules over the region. Qingdi Mountain has nothing to say here anymore. We determine the rules here now." Lin Feng stated clearly and distinctly. People's hearts were pounding. Was Lin Feng insane? He dared talk to Great Emperor Qing that way? "You want to die?" Enai blurted out eagerly, staring at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was going to bring about his own destruction. Great Emperor Qing hadn't expected that Lin Feng would dare talk to him like that. He frowned and said, "Do you know who I am?" "If you come with your real body, we'll talk," shouted Lin Feng icily. Then he slashed away, his celestial evolution chessboard streaked across the sky. At the same time, his sun disk moved towards Great Emperor Qing. Great Emperor Qing's soul was suddenly surrounded by lights. It was as if a sun had fallen on him, completely warping the space. Lin Feng is acting recklessly. Thunder rang out, and Great Emperor Qing's soul was destroyed. People's hearts were pounding violently. Lin Feng dared humiliate Great Emperor Qing? Don't. In the distance, a strong wind started blowing and clouds appeared as a mighty wind swept across everyone. People's faces changed. Great Emperor Qing was arriving physically. As expected, everybody remained silent as Great Emperor Qing appeared. He flashed and landed in front of Lin Feng, releasing a monstrous qi. At that moment, Wu and the others rushed over and came up next to Lin Feng. Lin Feng was strong, but he couldn't compete with the Great Emperor. "I'm here. What do you want to talk about?" demanded Great Emperor Qing icily. He gestured and a mountain appeared to loom over Lin Feng. "Celestial Emperor, this is the territory of the 9 great celestial castles. I didn't want to disturb you," admitted Great Emperor Qing. He didn't know what to say. He didn't understand either. The 9 great celestial castles were a trivial and insignificant territory. What was going on? Why had strong people from the animal world come there? The celestial emperor groaned icily. He looked at Lin Feng and his friends and smiled wryly. "I've heard about what happened. I knew it was you. Luckily, I didn't waste time and hurried over." "Little Qin, come here," ordered Celestial Emperor tightly. He pointed at Lin Feng and the others and said, "These are incredible students from Champion University in the Holy City. The Golden Crow is from the animal world. There's also the heir of the King of Hell Palace. After what happened, I think you should apologize." Great Emperor Qing's heart was pounding. He hoped that damn Enai would die. What a bastard. "Master Duan Mu, we are not planning anything, and all this has nothing to do with Qingdi Mountain. The problem was Enai, that little dog, as well as a few despicable people. They tarnished Qingdi Mountain's reputation," said Lin Feng. Duan Mu's Celestial Emperor laughed and said, From now on, Enai-chan is not a member of Qingdi Mountain anymore. You can deal with him as you wish. And Qingdi Mountain's people won't get involved in your things. Remember to come and visit me when you have time." "I will," nodded Lin Feng. Then, Duan Mu looked at Great Emperor Qing and said, "Little Qing, let's go." Great Emperor Qing was speechless as he left with Duan Mu. When he had arrived, he was loud, and now he was leaving silently. Tiantai could deal with those people by themselves. The crowd understood that the 9 great celestial castles were going to change, and things were going to be better for Celestial Summer Castle and the others. Luckily, they hadn't helped Tiantai's enemies. The leader of Celestial Wind Castle was impotently furious. Great Emperor Qing Sr. knew Lin Feng. The members of Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings were crushed. They had been waiting for the Great Emperors the whole time. They had thought the Great Emperors would save them. In the end, Duan Mu hadn't helped them, and they could consider themselves lucky that Duan Mu hadn't attacked them. Regarding Enai-chan, he had been abandoned by everyone. Enai-chan was almost dead. He looked desperate. He was so happy to see the Great Emperors arrive. He had thought Lin Feng would die quickly. In the end, he had been abandoned. That was a true descent into hell for him. He was doomed. From now on, Tiantai is the governing party of the region. Now, I give you the order to destroy Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. Everyone can attack," said Lin Feng calmly. Suddenly, Qi rose to the skies. The members of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness and Celestial Sea Kong Castle didn't hesitate at all. They started attacking at full strength. They couldn't infuriate Lin Feng anymore. He had friends who were Celestial Emperors. Lin Feng and his friends watched the massacre. Strong cultivators were destroying Celestial Wind Castle, and more strong cultivators appeared. Celestial Wind Castle's cultivators were furious. Tiantai was rising. Now, Tiantai ruled over the region, and nobody could change that. 7 days later, many things had changed in the region. The atmosphere was very lively in Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. People were constructing new buildings. Of course, those 3 cities weren't called Celestial Wind Castle, Celestial Qi Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings anymore. They had only one name, Tiantai. At the same time, Tiantai continued recruiting people. Many young people from the 9 great celestial castles wanted to join Tiantai. For them, joining Tiantai was an honor. Those who had joined before and hadn't betrayed Tiantai were extremely happy. Those who had betrayed Tiantai and were still alive couldn't join Tiantai anymore and regretted everything. The situation wasn't as tragic as 7 days before anymore. The battles were over. The landscape gradually changed. Apart from a few people, all the members of Celestial Qi Castle, Celestial Wind Castle, and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings had died. The sect leader of the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness was almost dead, severely injured. The sect leader of Celestial Sea Kong Castle was also badly injured. Their groups had also lost many strong cultivators. But they still had their cities that was already worthy of celebrating. However, it was as if Lin Feng didn't know about those things. He was supervising the renovation and construction of new buildings in the former territory of Celestial Qi Castle. Mu Yun was there. Lin Feng was at the foot of the ancient tree and looked at the thatched hut, but Mu Yun didn't come out. "Little boy, come," Hu Yu smiled. Lin Feng nodded, turned around, and departed. They flew at full speed to the entrance of the small world. After Lin Feng left, Mu Yun came out and looked at the sky. The sun was red. She smiled widely but sadly. Tears flowed down her cheeks. Lin Feng and her were from different worlds. Many things were probably going to happen in Lin Feng's world, but the world she wanted was a world of peace and tranquility. In the Ba Huang small world in the central part of Ba Huang, in the ancient Sun Castle, someone was seated cross-legged, his eyes closed. However, he suddenly opened his eyes. Some people wanted to come to the small world? His silhouette flickered. He put his hands on a symbol and quickly appeared outside as some people appeared in front of him. He knew some of them. Chapter 1830, Ba Huang. Nowadays the strong cultivator of the celestial palace of the punishing thunders remembered back then, when Emperor Wu Tianjian had threatened him. Later on, things had changed, and another group had taken control over the small world. However, people had continued consulting him concerning issues in the small world, so he was still the manager of the small world. He hadn't thought that Lin Feng would come back after so many years. "You surprisingly dared come back," said the strong cultivator, smiling coldly. Lin Feng hadn't leveled up, it seemed, but the people around him were quite strong. They were all low-level emperors. He was a bit surprised. "Let us go into the small world," ordered Lin Feng calmly. The strong cultivator of celestial palace of the punishing thunders frowned and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was provoking him? Lin Feng had no time to talk nonsense. He immediately broke a talisman, lights, and then a silhouette appeared. The strong cultivator of celestial palace of the punishing thunders was stupefied. He bowed and said, "Master, from now on, there is no entry and exit restriction. Open the passage and apologize to Lin Feng for what you did in the past. If Lin Feng forgives you, come back to celestial palace of the punishing thunders. If he doesn't, then you will never come back," said the leader of celestial palace of the punishing thunders icily. The strong cultivator was in charge of protecting the passage. Back then, he had joined hands with Celestial Qi Castle and Celestial Si Kong Castle, and had offended Lin Feng. However, now things had changed. Now, the Celestial Palace of the Punishing Thunders, the Great Celestial Palace of Thoughtfulness, and Celestial Si Kong Castle respected Tiantai. After all, they couldn't change anything, and Lin Feng had taken control over the region. He had also destroyed his enemies, such as Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. Regarding Celestial Wen Castle, they had chosen the wrong allies, but Lin Feng wasn't as cruel to them as he had been Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. The strong cultivator of Celestial Palace of the Punishing Thunders pulled a long face and lowered his head before he moved aside, not daring to look at Lin Feng. "Haven't you heard me? Apologize. Apologize to Tiantai's heroic cultivators. Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings have been destroyed. Do you want to die too?" asked the leader of Celestial Palace of the Punishing Thunders. When the strong cultivator heard that, he was astonished and his heart twitched. Lin Feng and his friends had destroyed Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of the Medicinal Kings? What was going on? "Umph." The leader of the castle groaned icily and then he disappeared. The strong cultivator's heart was pounding violently. He didn't know what to think, but all in all, he bowed before Lin Feng and his friends and said, "I offended you. I'm infinitely sorry. I hope you can forgive me." Lin Feng looked at him icily and said, "After we pass, you'll leave the passage open forever. If we need a guard, then you'll be the guard forever." Lin Feng didn't intend to kill him. Even though that guy was a moron, he was also the guard of the passage. Changing the guard wouldn't have any impact. Guards always enjoyed doing things their own way. Back then, he had received orders from the Celestial Palace of the Punishing Thunders. But from now on, he couldn't close the passage anymore. "Yes, sir," said the guard, nodding before he went and opened the passage. Lin Feng and the others passed and landed in the Sun Castle. They walked along a long corridor and appeared outside. They all took a deep breath. "Ba Huang." Lin Feng closed his eyes and enjoyed the fresh air of the small world. Finally, Lin Feng had the sensation he hadn't been back in forever. "Lin Feng, we're back," said Junimo Shi, walking up next to Lin Feng. His eyes were twinkling. Back then, when they had left, he hadn't taken Xiao Dai with him. They hadn't seen each other for years. He was wondering how she was doing. Ho Qing Lin and Tian Qi walked forwards. Unfortunately, their teacher wasn't here with them. Some other fellow disciples weren't there either. How were they all doing? They had built Tiantai in the region of the 9 great celestial castles for several reasons. The first was to control the region, including the small world. Then, people from the small world would be able to come in and out freely and practice cultivation in the great world. Nobody would treat them as slaves anymore. The second reason was that if their teachers and fellow disciples heard of Tiantai, they'd know where to find them. "Let's go," whispered Lin Feng. Then he walked forwards. They were going back to Ba Huang, the place where they had risen. Lin Feng's cultivation had changed drastically since back then, when he had come to Ba Huang. 10 years had passed. That was a long time. Two powerful groups controlled Ba Huang now, one of them being the Wen clan. Many years before, there was the Si Kong clan in the central part of Ba Huang, and the Qi clan and Celestial Palace of the Immortals were in the eastern part of Ba Huang. After all the emperors had left, people had heard of the Great World. The Qi clan and the Si Kong clan had then started declining. However, the Wen clan had continued rising. They had become quite strong and had taken control over the central part of Ba Huang. The magic world Heavenly Palace had disappeared, only the Si Kong clan had remained. Jianghe still existed, but they were weaker than the Wen clan. However, according to legends, there was a strange old man who never came out in Jianghe. Apart from the Wen clan, there was another strong group, the Palace of the Medicinal Kings. The Palace of the Medicinal Kings had occupied the territory of Celestial Place of the Alchemists back then, in the southern part of Ba Huang. They ruled over the southern part of Ba Huang now. Many groups which existed back then had declined or even been destroyed. For example, Tiantai had disappeared from the northern part of Ba Huang. Their territory had been maintained temporarily, but now they had completely disappeared. Sometimes, some old people talked about them, but most people were gradually forgetting about it. Apart from that, many groups had disappeared and were part of history. However, some new groups had also started rising. Some people also tried to resurrect some groups which had been destroyed. For example, in the southern part of Ba Huang, a celestial being had appeared and wanted to resurrect the celestial place of the alchemists. Unfortunately, even though she had broken through to the Huang Qi layer, the Palace of the Medicinal Kings kept humiliating her. Everybody called her Empress Shui, or Shui Celestial Being. She had become even more beautiful. She was one of the legendary 4 most beautiful women of Ba Huang, Shui Bagio. There were many legends about Shui Bagio and the Celestial Palace of the Alchemists. Some people said that Emperor Dan had used her back then, and that she had followed people from Tiantai. Some rumors also said that she had fallen in love with Lin Feng, but that his wife was already a celestial being, Meng Qing. Therefore, he had refused Shui Bagio, and Shui Bagio had remained in the small world. Back then, she hadn't followed the others into the great world. Of course, those were just rumors, but in the southern part of Ba Huang, there was another group. They were called Qi Feng Mountain. Back then, they had dispersed and then someone had restored the group, 2 beautiful sisters, Feng Ling and Feng Xian. Back then, Feng Xian was also one of the 4 most beautiful women. However, Feng Ling had become just as beautiful, if not more so. Besides, Feng Ling had broken through to the Huang Qi layer before Feng Xian. Some people said that they had gone to the outer world and had come back. Nobody could check whether the information was true or not. Only those who had gone to the great world could know. Regarding the last of the 4 most beautiful women, apparently she was from the Wen clan. Some people said that she pretended to be a man. Now, she didn't hide anymore, and she had become one of the 4 most beautiful women. Her name was Wen Ao Shui. She was the pride of the Wen clan. In the northern part of Ba Huang, some funny things happened too. For example, a young man had started rising. He was extremely strong, and people found him extraordinary, as he was extremely talented. That guy wanted to recreate Tiantai. He traveled a lot, trying to recreate Tiantai. Lin Feng knew nothing about those things. Now, he was going to Jianghe alone. Chapter 1831. Godly Wood Sap. Jianghe is a powerful group in the central part of Ba Huang. The Wen clan ruled over the central part of Ba Huang. Even though Jianghe had Emperor Wu Tianjian, they didn't rule over the region because the old emperor was detached from worldly affairs. Jianghe thus preferred staying in the shadows. Besides, Jianghe probably couldn't rule over the region anymore, as Wen Ao Shui had already become a low-level emperor. She was a genius. Many people in Ba Huang thought that the geniuses of the previous generations were amazing, especially those who had disappeared. Those who had risen a bit later, such as Shui Bagio, Feng Ling, Wen Ao Shui, and so on, had already broken through to the Huang Qi layer, but the geniuses who had disappeared were even more powerful. Tiantai's disciples had amazed the whole region during the meeting of the emperors. When Ao Shui, Shui Bagio, and the others couldn't compete with them back then. Even fools could imagine that those people had probably become powerful emperors already. Unfortunately, people had been able to leave the small world for a while before the passage had been closed again. The geniuses who had disappeared hadn't come back for quite some time. However, at this moment, Lin Feng was right there, outside of Jiang'e. Young master. The crowd remained silent for a time, staring at Lin Feng, before bowing before him. Even if Lin Feng hadn't become an emperor yet, he had probably become even more powerful than before. Unfortunately, when Ao Shui and all the others had already broken through to the Huangqi layer. Why hadn't Lin Feng broken through to the Huangqi layer? Did he have a problem? Jian Mu, is the emperor here? Lin Feng asked Jian Mu. Jian Mu nodded. Young master, the emperor is in the sword grave. After you left, nobody dared go inside anymore. We don't want to disturb him. I think he should still be in there, but I'm not sure. All right, said Lin Feng with a nod, before starting to walk through Jiang'e. Young master, shouted Jian Mu. Lin Feng stopped, turned around, and looked at Jian Mu. I hope you can cheer him up, said Jian Mu, bowing before Lin Feng. The ancestor was here and he didn't do anything for Jiang'e. That made Jian Mu feel very sad. Lin Feng had come back, but he hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer, so their last hope was their ancestor. Jian Wu Bei was now a cultivator of the top of the Zunqi layer, so hopefully the old man would help him a little. Lin Feng understood what Jian Mu meant, his eyes twinkling, and he said, from now on, Jiang'e will rule over Ba Huang. Then he continued on. Jian Mu and the others were surprised. Jiang'e was going to rule over Ba Huang? Was that possible? Did Lin Feng have a solution? Lin Feng walked straight to the sword grave. It was currently sealed by sword energies. Lin Feng looked at that curtain made of sword lights. Even sounds couldn't get through. How was Emperor Wu Tianjian doing? Lin Feng punched the curtain of sword qi, which instantly broke apart and dispersed, allowing him to enter. In the sword grave, the old man was seated cross-legged. He looked extremely old and had many wrinkles. His hair had become completely white. Lin Feng was stupefied. What was going on? What had happened? The old man slowly opened his eyes. He looked very sick. It was hard to imagine that that old man was Emperor Wu Tianjian, the one who had forced the medium-level emperor of the celestial palace of the punishing thunders to open the passage to the great world. You're here, exclaimed the old man, smiling at Lin Feng. He looked so sick though. Master, what's wrong? Asked Lin Feng. He didn't understand why the old man looked so bad. Had his injury worsened? I will die soon, said the old man calmly. Long ago I was injured, so I hid in here. I went out a few times because of you. To be honest, I also hoped you would be able to help me someday. However, while I was waiting a few years ago, the enemy came here and I had to use all my strength to scare him away. It worked, but now I'm going to die. The old man looked extremely sad. I'm going to die soon, and you haven't broken through to the Huangqi layer yet. The gods hate me. Lin Feng, have a seat. I will transmit everything I have learned in this life to you. Lin Feng sighed. Emperor Wu Tianjian didn't care about Jiang'e? He had founded Jiang'e, and Jiang'e's people were his people, his descendants. He had sealed the tomb and he didn't give any news to his people. He could have died in the tomb and nobody would have known about it. That was sad, considering that he was a public figure in the small world. Master, how could you say such a thing? Said Lin Feng calmly. Then he walked to the old man and slowly crouched down. He took the old man's hands in his hands and started releasing life cosmic energies, which raced throughout the old man's body. Emperor Wu Tianjian instantly started looking more alive. His eyes started twinkling. This was cosmic energy? And this cosmic energy was intense, thick, and rich. A Zun cultivator couldn't possibly control such cosmic energies. You've already broken through to the Huangqi layer? Emperor Wu Tianjian asked Lin Feng. Master, do you think I am that bad at cultivation? Smiled Lin Feng. He didn't stop releasing life cosmic energy. I am old and tired. I just realized that if you hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer, you wouldn't have been able to break the sword energy curtain I created to seal the grave. It seems like you studied an incredible technique to hide your cultivation level. Surprisingly, I didn't even notice. But your life cosmic energies still can't heal me. They can help me live a bit longer at best. All in all, my injuries are too severe, and I will die soon," said Emperor Wu Tianjian, sighing. His hair had started turning black again. "Not necessarily," replied Lin Feng. Lin Feng walked out of the grave and released immortal sword energies to seal the grave, then came back into the sword grave. A pitch-black tree appeared before them. The tree turned into black wood, and powerful cosmic energies invaded the atmosphere. An ancient tree, black wood, powerful cosmic energies, several sorts of cosmic energies. Emperor Wu Tianjian was staring at the wood floating in midair. He was stunned as he looked at Lin Feng. "What is this?" "Heavenly grace godly wood," Lin Feng said calmly. Emperor Wu Tianjian's heart suddenly twitched in astonishment. The legendary wood with different sorts of strength, the heavenly grace godly wood that is alive? "The sap of the godly wood can heal your injuries," explained Lin Feng. He waved his hand and the tree moved over to the old man and floated above his head. The old man didn't look so sad anymore, he looked astonished, and sharp lights were glittering in his eyes. Was he going to become as strong as he used to be when he was younger? Lin Feng had surprisingly obtained heavenly grace godly wood. "Master, use the sap of the wood to cleanse your body, it will heal you," instructed Lin Feng. Emperor Wu Tianjian nodded as Lin Feng started talking to the godly wood. The heavenly grace godly wood started releasing powerful lights, and drops of sap started falling from it, penetrating into the old man's body. A powerful strength started flowing throughout the old man's flesh and muscles, and auspicious lights started flashing around him. The whole sword grave started trembling. Emperor Wu Tianjian was dumbstruck. Another drop of sap fell onto his body, and the old man started releasing powerful energies. He shouted loudly, "Lin Feng, take the godly wood away, don't waste its priceless sap." Emperor Wu Tianjian wasn't selfish. He knew that the sap of this wood was priceless. 2 drops were enough for him to cleanse the toxins in his body. Lin Feng had come back from the great world with this tree. He didn't mind the cost, he just wanted to heal the old man. "Another drop is fine," said Lin Feng as he sensed the powerful sword energies in the air. Lin Feng thought that sap might make Emperor Wu Tianjian even stronger than he used to be. The heavenly grace godly wood had 100 drops. Each drop required hundreds of years to condense. Its sap was priceless indeed, and Lin Feng gave Emperor Wu Tianjian 3 drops. After that, Lin Feng walked away from the emperor, sealing the area away. Jiang's people started rushing over there. They all looked at Lin Feng, sensing some powerful cosmic energies. Why had Lin Feng sealed the grave? What had happened to the old man? "Young master," called out Jian Mu. Lin Feng slowly turned around and looked at Jian Mu and the others. He shouted, "Everybody leave, I know what's good for Jiang." "Yes, young master," replied Jian Mu. He could see Lin Feng's sharp expression and didn't want to disobey. He waved at the others and they all left. Chapter 1832, The Sword Emperor Rises. Jiang's people departed. Lin Feng turned around and looked at the sword intent he had used to seal the sword grave. The energies within the grave seemed like they could explode out at any time. The heavenly grace godly wood sap is powerful as expected. If I used it to cleanse my body, perhaps my cosmic energies and my comprehensive abilities would improve, thought Lin Feng. No wonder a heavenly grace ancient tree was so difficult to obtain, and the tree had to agree to follow a cultivator. Unfortunately, there were only 100 drops. Each drop was priceless, taking a century to form. If the heavenly grace godly wood had no more sap, it would turn into an ordinary tree. However, it would take time for Emperor Wu Tianjian to recover. Jian Mu and the others had gathered in a courtyard. Even though they were some distance away, they continued staring at the sword grave nervously. "Young master." Lin Feng came over to them. Jian Mu was visibly anxious about what was going on. "Emperor Wu Tianjian needs time, he's meditating in seclusion." His strength and cultivation level are not only coming back to normal, he's going to improve, Lin Feng explained calmly. Everybody was astonished. The old man was going to become stronger. Jian Mu, what's the situation like in Ba Huang these days? Lin Feng asked him. He had just come back to Ba Huang, and his friends were busy doing their own things. Lin Feng wanted to know more about the situation in Ba Huang. The Wen clan suddenly became much stronger. The Qi clan gradually declined. The Si Kong clan is strong, but in comparison to the Wen clan, they are still weak. I've also heard that the medium-level emperors have all left. A new group appeared in Ba Huang, the Palace of Medicinal Kings. They're the only group who can compete with the Wen clan, explained Jian Mu briefly. In short, the Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings were the strongest groups of Ba Huang those days. As expected, thought Lin Feng. The Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings controlled the small world, so they were the strongest in it. They could steal resources to raise their own people. They also paid attention to rising geniuses in the small world. What they couldn't imagine was that they couldn't do much against truly strong people. The Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings were already doomed. What emperors are there in this world nowadays? And among my enemies of the same generation as me, who is left? Asked Lin Feng. There aren't many emperors these days in Ba Huang. The Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings have emperors. The Si Kong clan probably has 2 emperors, Emperor Si Kong from back then, and Si Kong Xiao. The Xiao Yao sect should have 1 emperor. There is also Emperor Lei and Emperor Niao Mo in the brutal part of Ba Huang. Emperor Peng left with the Great Oriental Greenfinch Rock. In the Great World, they are considered as very strong cultivators, too, replied Lin Feng cheerfully. The young man clenched his fists, looking extremely motivated. Would he ever become a great emperor? Lin Feng and the members of Jiang'e raised their heads and waited for the emperor to return. After an hour, another hole appeared in the sky, and a beam of light descended. Lin Feng's heart started racing. The light beam turned into a person, Emperor Wu Tianjian. Emperor Wu Tianjian looked incredible and alive, not injured at all, and had regained his youth. He was surrounded by powerful sword energies. He had started rejuvenating. It was incredible to see. Chapter 1833. Emperor Wen's Investigation, Ancestor, shouted the members of Jiang'e respectfully when they saw their ancestor come back. Had he really become a great emperor? Emperor Wu Tianjian looked at Lin Feng and smiled quietly. It's crazy how things can change so quickly. Lin Feng, I would have never thought I'd ever heal. Thank you very much. Emperor Wu Tianjian had spent so many years with his disease, his enemies had already become great emperors, and he had finally started dying. He had never thought he'd heal and become a great emperor, all thanks to Lin Feng. You made it happen, Lin Feng replied humbly. You became a great emperor on your own. I never thought I'd become a great emperor after 1,000 years. That tree sap helped me immensely, sighed Emperor Wu Tianjian. He had never thought that the heavenly grace godly wood sap would help him so much. Not only did it heal him, but he had broken through. Emperor Wu Tianjian's eyes were twinkling with strange lights from the strength of his new cultivation level. His world strength was becoming more real. He could now create small worlds easily. He waved his hands and swiftly reformed Jiang'e. Let's go in. Emperor Wu Tianjian and Lin Feng entered Jiang'e again. It was the same as before. Emperor Wu Tianjian didn't go back to the sword grave this time. He walked over to a sword mountain with Lin Feng. Lin Feng, do you know why I was injured? Emperor Wu Tianjian asked him. Lin Feng shook his head and replied, I know that it has something to do with Sword Mountain. So you really went to Sword Mountain, murmured Emperor Wu Tianjian. Lin Feng looked at him strangely as the emperor said, Nobody knew that I was hiding in the small world. However, 1,000 years ago, my enemy found me, and that enemy is the current leader of Sword Mountain. He's probably seen you and your swordsmanship. Lin Feng was surprised and answered, Indeed, I've been to Sword Mountain. I released Wu Tianjian's sword intent, and then they started plotting against me. I didn't know why, and then I learned that it was because you were enemies. Emperor Taijian, the leader of Sword Mountain, probably spied on me. He's not the only one. A few senior officials from Sword Mountain probably thought about me when they saw your sword energies. They immediately informed Tai Jian, Emperor Wu Tianjian said, then added, the leader of Sword Mountain, Emperor Tai Jian, is my fellow disciple. Fellow disciple. Lin Feng frowned. So Emperor Wu Tianjian had studied at Sword Mountain. Back then, the leader of Sword Mountain transmitted his knowledge to me, but not to my fellow disciple. Therefore, he got angry and wanted revenge. We had a great battle and I lost. Back then, he was ready to become a great emperor. Even though my cultivation level was high, I was still injured, and my injury only worsened with time. My fellow disciple also continued chasing me. In the end, I had no choice but to come back to this small world, Emperor Wu Tianjian told him calmly. However, I never thought that things would get better and that I would become a great emperor. Lin Feng, thank you very much. It's all thanks to you. Master, I am also grateful. You taught me so much about sword cultivation, and you took us out of the small world. I had to help you. Besides, I also have some ancient scriptures which I can give to you. That way, if you go back to Sword Mountain, you'll be able to take your revenge. Lin Feng smiled. Emperor Wu Tianjian didn't think much of the offer. Lin Feng's ancient scriptures couldn't possibly be suitable for him, but it was nice of Lin Feng to offer him scriptures. Emperor Wu Tianjian smiled and said, Great, I also have some sword scriptures for you. They both laughed and exchanged scriptures. Nihility sword scriptures, they can help you improve your sword intent. Your sword can then fuse together with the sky. Lin Feng checked the scriptures he had obtained and was delighted. They were very strange. The way cultivators used them was different from other ancient scriptures, and they had an explosive power. The Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures. At that moment, Emperor Wu Tianjian looked dumbstruck, his heart was pounding, and he was staring at Lin Feng. He didn't really want the ancient scriptures from Lin Feng, but now he was completely stunned. Surprisingly, Lin Feng had transmitted the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures to him. Master, have you heard of the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures before? Asked Lin Feng. Emperor Wu Tianjian smiled wryly and said, Lin Feng, I initially wanted to give you something incredible to thank you. I wouldn't have thought you'd give me the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures. I owe you even more now. What are you talking about, Master? Answered Lin Feng, shaking his head. Emperor Wu Tianjian laughed wholeheartedly and stopped being emotional. He said, Lin Feng, I have the Nihility Sword Scriptures and now you gave me the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures. I will go to Sword Mountain sooner or later. Of course. Lin Feng smiled back. Emperor Wu Tianjian was a genius. 5,000 years ago, he had amazed everyone in the small world and created his own way of practicing sword cultivation. He was extremely talented. Now that he had the Nihility Sword Scriptures and the Celestial Evolution Holy Scriptures, he would be able to surpass Emperor Tai Jian sooner or later. Master, I'm off. I'll come back to see you at some point, said Lin Feng. He was done here. Emperor Wu Tianjian had become a great emperor. Things had turned out even better than he had thought. Emperor Wu Tianjian would go to Sword Mountain sooner or later and deal with them. Emperor Wu Tianjian would probably also take over Sword Mountain, as he was, after all, the real descendant of Sword Mountain. All right, agreed Emperor Wu Tianjian with a nod. Lin Feng stood up and headed out. Young master. Jian Mu came up to Lin Feng before he departed. What's wrong? Asked Lin Feng. In the central part of Ba Huang, some people from the Wen clan and the Si Kong clan are here and want to know what's going on with our ancestor, said Jian Mu. Lin Feng's eyes twinkled as he asked, Where are they? Outside. I came to ask you whether we could let them come into Jiang'a? Wondered Jian Mu. He didn't dare offend those people. There were 2 emperors there. And even though Emperor Wu Tianjian had become a great emperor, he hadn't taken care of Jiang'a for such a long time. Maybe he didn't care about them either. No need. Unless you agree, nobody can come into Jiang'a anymore. Jiang'a doesn't need to care about giving people face anymore, Lin Feng said sharply. He understood how Jian Mu felt. He continued indifferently, I was going to see them anyway. Lin Feng and the members of Jiang'e headed outside. There were many people gathered there. One of them looked dignified and majestic, and even stronger than before, Emperor Wen. Emperor Si Kong was there too, but it wasn't the same as before. They watched Jiang'e's people come out. The leader of the group was a young man, incredibly strong and handsome. When the members of the Si Kong clan and the Wen clan saw that young man, they were stupefied, especially Emperor Wen. His eyes glittered. Back then, he had also taken Lin Feng and the others out of the small world, and then his father and he had come back. Lin Feng. Emperor Wen's eyes were filled with dazzling lights. He was staring at that young man. Lin Feng had surprisingly come back to Ba Huang. Emperor Wen, I trust you have been doing well since we last met. Lin Feng smiled winningly. Emperor Wen looked at Lin Feng. Zunqi layer? Lin Feng surprisingly still has the strength of the Zunqi layer. He hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer. Interesting. When Ao Shui had already broken through to the Huangqi layer, Lin Feng hadn't. Lin Feng, we haven't seen each other for so many years and you have become impolite. You should call me master now, Emperor Wen smiled. Lin Feng was surprised and angered when he heard Emperor Wen say that. Chapter 1834. Come to Jiang'e tomorrow. Lin Feng looked back at Emperor Wen calmly. Back then, Lin Feng's teachers and Emperor Wen had joined hands. Back then, Emperor Wen was warm and friendly. Now, he had power in the central part of Ba Huang and sounded different. Lin Feng was surprised. Back then, had the Wen clan just used Tiantai? The Wen clan used to be similar to the Si Kong clan and the Qi clan. They also depended on the 9 great celestial castles of Qingdi Mountain. Lin Feng was convinced that back then, the Wen clan knew about the Qi clan situation. Lin Feng had many doubts when it came to the celestial Wen castle and the Wen clan, especially when the leader of the celestial Wen castle had chosen to join hands with Qingdi Mountain to fight against Tiantai. Lin Feng had then decided to destroy the celestial Wen castle. I would, but I don't think you deserve it, Lin Feng smiled indifferently. Emperor Wen's smile became a little forced as he said, Lin Feng, bring me to the Sword Emperor. The Wen clan admires him. We want to go and greet him. The Si Kong clan also wants to greet the Sword Emperor, said the emperor of the Si Kong clan coldly. Lin Feng didn't like the Si Kong clan. But now they had seen that something had broken through the small world, so they wanted to see Emperor Wu Tianjian. What had happened to him? Lin Feng looked at them, his eyes glittering, and said, Piss off. When Emperor Si Kong and Emperor Wen heard Lin Feng, they were stupefied. Emperor Wen said icily, Lin Feng, the Wen clan has always been polite to you, and now you dare insult elders? It seems that your 2 teachers have failed in your education. Emperor Wen released ice-cold cosmic energies, making the air whistle. He said icily, after so many years, you haven't broken through to the Huangqi layer. If your teachers were here, what would they think of you? You're a disgrace. Emperor Wen waved his hands and cosmic energies surrounded his body. A cage of empty space energies surrounded him. If he attacked Lin Feng, perhaps Emperor Wu Tianjian would come out? Empty space strength surrounded Lin Feng. Emperor Wen waved his hands again and the energies became even more oppressive. However, Lin Feng's expression didn't change at all. He just looked at Emperor Wen icily, his eyes filled with death chi. Emperor Wen was surprised. You want to die? Lin Feng spat icily. Emperor Wen dared criticize his teachers? Lin Feng was furious. He jumped forwards and released powerful energies which crushed down on Emperor Wen. Emperor Wen's expression changed drastically. Those energies were truly frightening. Emperor Wen was completely astonished. Who said I hadn't broken through to the Huangqi layer? Continued Lin Feng icily. Emperor Wen's heart twitched. Death cosmic energy pierced through his body and he turned gray, his life was being drained out. Empty space cosmic energies surrounded Emperor Wen, space around him bent and twisted. He wanted to retreat, but he saw that Lin Feng was moving faster than him. Lin Feng waved his hands. A gigantic hand came out of nowhere and slapped Emperor Wen's cheeks. The slap was so hard that Emperor Wen fell down on his knees, completely humiliated. Everybody around them was astonished. Emperor Wen hadn't withstood a single attack. He must be an emperor. The members of the Si Kong clan and the Wen clan were astonished, humiliated too. Young master. The members of Jianghe were also amazed. Their young master had broken through to the Huangqi layer. Lin Feng the genius had come back. Emperor Wen hadn't withstood a single attack. Who could compete with him in Ba Huang those days? Young master was just hiding his cultivation level, whispered Jian Mu. Jianghe's people clenched their fists. They remembered what Lin Feng had told them. Jianghe was going to rule over Ba Huang. Lin Feng sounded very self-confident for a reason. He didn't need their ancestors' help for this. Emperor Wen wanted to stand up, but Lin Feng jumped and landed on him like a mountain coming down. A powerful strength flew throughout his body. Die! Emperor Wen's face turned deathly pale. Thunder shook the air as a gigantic hand appeared in the sky and crashed into Lin Feng. However, nothing happened. Lin Feng remained motionless. Emperor Wen's stomach kept twitching as he started shaking violently. His cosmic energies were ineffective against Lin Feng? The others were stupefied too. Cosmic energy attacks were useless against Lin Feng? How strong had Lin Feng become? You want my teachers to educate me? Lin Feng stated icily. His voice made Emperor Wen's heart beat even faster. Emperor Wen's eyes were twinkling before he smiled and said, Lin Feng, my boy, I had thought that you had stopped practicing cultivation, so I had to be strict with you. Don't be angry. Ah! Emperor Wen gave out a horrible shriek. Crackling sounds spread in the air. Lin Feng had stomped on his body and broken many of his bones. Lin Feng, my boy? Who do you think you are? Swore Lin Feng icily. He said indifferently, tomorrow, all the cultivators of the Zunqi layer and above from the Wen clan and the Si Kong clan, come to Jianghe. If you dare to disobey, you will have to bear the responsibilities. Following which, Lin Feng kicked Emperor Wen again, and broke more of his bones. Emperor Wen, an emperor all people admired in the small world, was being humiliated like an insect by Lin Feng. Piss off, shouted Lin Feng, glancing at the people from the Wen and Si Kong clans. The emperor of the Si Kong clan didn't even dare look Lin Feng in the eyes. His heart was pounding in fear. In the Si Kong clan, apart from him, only Si Kong Shao had broken through to the Huangqi layer. Emperor Wen couldn't even withstand a single attack anymore against Lin Feng. No wonder he had amazed the whole region of Ba Huang. He was too strong. Let's go. The members of the Si Kong clan and the Wen clan didn't waste any time. Emperor Wen was injured, so some people had to help him walk and fly. They kept thinking about what Lin Feng had said, that they had to come back to Jianghe tomorrow with all their cultivators of the Zunqi layer and higher. Jianghe's people were stunned. Lin Feng had become so strong. No wonder that he had just told them that Jianghe was the new ruler of Ba Huang. Young master, the Wen clan also has a medium-level emperor, Jian Mu warned Lin Feng. After all, there was a huge difference between low-level emperors and medium-level emperors. I understand, Lin Feng replied calmly, his face indifferent. We'll see them tomorrow. Lin Feng walked away. Jianghe's people looked after him, even more surprised. Their young master didn't fear medium-level emperors? Was he strong enough to defeat such cultivators, too? After Lin Feng left Jianghe, he went to a restaurant in Sword City. That was also the first place he had ever been to in Sword City before heading to Fortune City. Back then, the Imperial Assassin Union's members had broken it, but it had been rebuilt. In the restaurant, Hu Yu, Mu Lin Shui, Qing Feng, and Wu were waiting. They were just waiting for Lin Feng, unlike Jun Mo Shi and the others, who actually had things to do there. Qin Wu, Tan Tai, and the others guarded their base back in the 9 great celestial castles. When Lin Feng arrived, he sat down at the table and said to Wu, Wu, you'll be coming with me. Wu looked back at Lin Feng angrily, but didn't refuse. We're going to the Xiao Yao sect in the central part of Ba Huang. We'll tell their patriarch about tomorrow, and make them come to Jianghe, Lin Feng told him. When they heard that, the clients of the restaurant all glanced at Lin Feng. They looked amused. Was that guy joking? He wanted to make the patriarch come to Jianghe? Even though those young people looked extremely strong, they probably couldn't compete with the patriarch of the Xiao Yao sect. What was their social status? Wu groaned, but still stood up and left the restaurant with Lin Feng. Lin Feng was convinced that Wu could help him sort this out. People in the restaurant were surprised when they saw Wu follow Lin Feng. One of them asked Lin Feng, "Your Excellency, you seem incredibly strong for your age. Where do you come from?" Lin Feng smiled at him and said, "I'm a nobody." "A nobody? Someone who dares give orders to the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect? In Ba Huang, there are very strong young people too, Shui Bagio, Feng Ling, Si Kong Xiao. As I see it, you must be Lin Feng who left Ba Huang back then, especially since you want to make those people come to Jiang'a." Lin Feng. The crowd was stunned and frowned as they recalled those events. Even though Lin Feng had left for many years, they still remembered Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked surprised. Some people still remembered him. Chapter 1835. Destruction. Lin Feng smiled and said, "If you think so, maybe." Lin Feng didn't admit he was Lin Feng, nor did he deny it. The atmosphere became silent in the restaurant. That young man was maybe Lin Feng? "Teacher, who's Lin Feng?" a young man asked his teacher. Lin Feng had disappeared from the small world for many years. People who were around 20 years old didn't know about Lin Feng. People who were 30 and older all knew him. No. One of the 11 disciples of Tian Tai, a powerful genius. He had crushed many people during the meeting of the emperors. He had also killed the princes of Tianlong Divine Castle. He also slaughtered many people from the Qi clan. 10 years ago, he amazed the whole region. He was also one of the 10 strongest young cultivators of Ba Huang. Explained the elder to the young man staring at Lin Feng. "Teacher, there were many geniuses in the previous generation. Lin Feng was that strong?" The young man was stupefied. He didn't even dare look at Lin Feng. Lin Feng was wearing clean white clothes. There was no qi around him. However, he did look enigmatic and unfathomable. They couldn't see how strong he was. They couldn't see how strong the two women next to him were either. If he's really Lin Feng, he must have come back from the great world and he must be incredibly strong. No wonder he dares say he wants to make the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect come to Jiang'a. Mused the elder. They would know if they were right tomorrow. Would the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect come to Jiang'a? In the restaurant, people kept talking about him. Lin Feng just left. On the day after, at the same time, many people came to watch. The fact that Lin Feng wanted some people to come to Jiang'a had already spread everywhere. At that moment, in the distance, a group of people arrived. They weren't from the Xiaoyao sect, however. Emperor Si Kong, Emperor Wen, as well as people from their respective clans, thought the crowd. Those people all landed in front of Jiang'a together. The medium-level emperor of the Wen clan is there, too. Does it have anything to do with the beam of light we saw yesterday? Maybe Emperor Wu Tianjian has come back, thought the crowd. The patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect is coming too, but he's alone, thought the crowd after they saw someone in the distance. That person seemed very agile, as he was using the Xiaoyao agility technique. Some other people appeared in Jiang'a too, Jian Mu and the others. They looked at the crowd. Wen clan, Si Kong clan, Xiaoyao sect, 3 powerful groups from the central part of Ba Huang. Because Emperor Wu Tianjian had stopped caring about Jiang'a, Jiang'a hadn't been able to oppress and compete with them. "Lin Feng, my boy. We're here, you can come out," said the medium-level emperor of the Wen clan firmly. Making them come to Jiang'a, Lin Feng was quite audacious. But he had spent time in the Great World, so he probably knew that behind the Wen clan, there was the celestial Wen castle. Lin Feng couldn't compete with such people, unless Emperor Wu Tianjian appeared. A gigantic sword appeared, Lin Feng and Wu were standing upon it. When the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect saw Wu, his mouth twitched. That bastard was an unruly and obstinate animal. On the day before, he had been humiliated by Wu. "Is everybody here?" Lin Feng asked calmly. "We're all here." "Lin Feng, my boy, why did you make us come?" asked Emperor Wen's father coldly. There were 2 other emperors next to him. One of them was Emperor Wen, and the other one was a stunningly beautiful woman. When Ao Shui wasn't pretending to be a man anymore. She still enjoyed wearing clean white clothes though, as she was quite seductive in a beautiful white skirt. When you pretended to be a man, you were already more beautiful than women. Now, You're still more beautiful than most women, complimented Lin Feng, smiling at Wen Ao Shui and ignoring Emperor Wen's father. You preferred me when I was wearing men's clothes? Wen Ao Shui asked cutely. I prefer you as a woman, of course, replied Lin Feng calmly. Wen Ao Shui giggled and said, I'm happy if you like me this way. However, Lin Feng shook his head and said, at least now, you're showing your true colors. Wen Ao Shui's smile stiffened. Lin Feng asked her, you're the second assassin of the Imperial Assassin Union, aren't you? Wen Ao Shui was rendered speechless and looked at Lin Feng strangely. Lin Feng already knew the answer. Wen Ao Shui is a member of the Imperial Assassin Union? Many people were shocked and frowned, especially people who were older. You deceived me a few times back then, said Lin Feng, closing his eyes and sighing. They had studied together. Wen Ao Shui hadn't helped when Duan Wuya and the others had attacked him and his friends, but it didn't matter as, after all, Wen Ao Shui and Lin Feng weren't related by blood. However, Yan Yu Pingxing was her teacher, and even though Wen Ao Shui regretted it, she was a member of the Wen clan. Everything about the Wen clan seemed fake now. When Ao Shui looked petrified, Lin Feng sighed again. She could sense that Lin Feng was sad and said, Lin Feng, even now, I am still your friend. Nothing can ruin our friendship. Impossible, shouted someone icily at that moment. An ice-cold energy rose as someone in a golden robe appeared. That person's voice sounded like the voice of a demon. Jun Emoshi. When Ao Shui was stupefied, Jun Emoshi had come back to Ba Huang too? Emoshi, what's wrong? Lin Feng asked Jun Emoshi. There was a beautiful woman next to Jun Emoshi, Xiao Dai. She looked wan and sallow, even as she stared at the members of the Wen clan icily. The Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings destroyed the Celestial Palace of the Immortals, said Jun Emoshi icily. Lin Feng shivered and closed his eyes. The Wen clan is going to disappear from Ba Huang. When Ao Shui started shaking, Emperor Wen's father looked at Lin Feng icily. Ridiculous, Lin Feng. Even if you were strong enough to destroy the Wen clan, you probably understand that you can't offend the Celestial Wen Castle. The Celestial Wen Castle ceased existing a while ago now, spat Wu icily. Emperor Wen's father was stupefied. He could only look back at Wu and say, Who do you think you are? Empty words. You're ridiculous. Wu raised his hands and threw himself at Emperor Wen's father as blinding suns burned into existence. Emperor Wen's father frowned and released empty space cosmic energies, his robe fluttering in the wind, throwing himself at Wu. Their energies collided with a crash. Sun cosmic energies penetrated into Emperor Wen's father's hands and corroded his body, driving him backwards. His expression had changed completely. Wu's physical strength and cosmic energies were powerful. He can resist a medium-level emperor. The crowd was stunned. Jun Emoshi released powerful hell strength which descended from the sky. Then he jumped forwards looking like a demon. He punched out, and the air started shaking. The members of the Wen clan were all surrounded by ice-cold strength and started freezing. Die, said Jun Emoshi icily. All the members of the Wen clan started dying one after another. People's expressions changed drastically. How come these people were so strong? When Ao Shui was astonished, she looked at Lin Feng and asked, Has the Celestial Wen Castle really been destroyed? I rebuilt Tiantai in the 9 great celestial castles. The Celestial Wen Castle was the first group who tried to fight against us. I took some people there and killed the rest. The Celestial Qi Castle and the Palace of Medicinal Kings don't exist anymore either, Lin Feng replied calmly. When Ao Shui's face turned deathly pale. Wu and Jun Emoshi dared kill people from the Wen clan. They didn't fear them at all. They could even defeat medium-level emperors. When Ao Shui looked desperate. She had never thought that Lin Feng and his friends would rise so quickly. The crowd didn't understand what was happening. It was like a dream. The Wen clan was a powerful group in the central part of Ba Huang, and now, those young people were crushing them? A powerful strength bombarded Wen Ao Shui. She coughed up blood, and was driven backwards in Lin Feng's direction. Lin Feng was startled, as Wen Ao Shui didn't try to fight back. Since you're telling me that the Celestial Wen Castle has been destroyed, I believe you. I just have one last request. I want you to kill me. said Wen Ao Shui, smiling desperately. Lin Feng glanced at Junimo Shi, who lowered his hands and released a destructive strength which corroded Wen Ao Shui's body. She was still smiling as she softly collapsed into Lin Feng's arms. Lin Feng caught her. Chapter 1836. Tianlong's 10th Prince Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman in his arms, her eyes now closed. She was dead. Lin Feng wasn't happy at all. He felt extremely saddened by this turn of events. They had known each other in Shuiyu. Back then they were very young. They had chosen different paths. He knew that when Ao Shui wasn't sorry, she hadn't helped him. She was just heartless. But sometimes heartless people also had feelings and emotions, and her final wish was to die in his arms. At least, they didn't crush her, her corpse was intact. This was her fate. The battle continued. Junimo Shi and Wu were astonishingly strong. They could easily kill Zun cultivators. Even Emperor Wen had died. His father was badly injured and probably wouldn't be able to resist much longer. The powerful Wen clan was being destroyed. The Si Kong clan's strong cultivators looked furious. Si Kong Shao among them. When he saw all this, he was astonished. He had come thinking he would show how strong he was, but Junimo Shi was immensely strong, and so was that young man named Wu. Wu even obeyed Lin Feng, so how strong was Lin Feng? Very quickly, the members of the Wen clan were all slaughtered. Junimo Shi's Hao Qi was powerful. He turned around to look at Lin Feng, who was still holding Wen Ao Shui. Junimo Shi's icy energies suddenly disappeared. He sighed and said to Lin Feng, take her body back to the Wen clan. All right, Lin Feng nodded. He turned around and looked at the leaders of the Si Kong clan and the Xiaoyao sect, saying, the celestial Si Kong castle is now Tiantai's. Even though we used to be enemies, since the celestial Si Kong castle is now under the jurisdiction of Tiantai, I'm not going to destroy you. Lin Feng looked at Wen Ao Shui in his arms while talking. He looked depressed and dispirited. He didn't care about the Si Kong clan. Kneel down and make a vow. From now on, you will obey Jiang, said Lin Feng indifferently. The members of the Si Kong clan frowned. Kneel down? Make a vow? Obey Jiang? Was that the price they had to pay for Lin Feng to forgive them? They have 5 seconds. Wu, if they refuse, kill them all, said Lin Feng. Then he turned around and looked at the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. You don't need to kneel down. Just make a vow. Lin Feng rose up into the air and said, from now on, Jiang rules over the region. After making a vow, we will take the leaders of the Si Kong clan and the Xiaoyao sect to the Palace of Medicinal Kings. You're going to destroy the Palace of Medicinal Kings. Then Lin Feng disappeared. In one sentence, Lin Feng changed the situation of the whole territory. The Si Kong clan and the Xiaoyao sect had to obey Jiang and destroy the Palace of Medicinal Kings. Jiang now ruled over the region. Lin Feng left and so did Junimo Shi. Wu was in charge of the Si Kong clan. They had to make a vow, and so did the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect. Finally, Jiang's people started feeling powerful. Jiang was rising again. Even though they were now the rulers of the region, at least of the central part of Ba Huang, Lin Feng couldn't stay there all the time. The 2 emperors and the Zun cultivators of the Wen clan were dead. That was enough. At least, Lin Feng didn't want to kill more people. If Junimo Shi wanted to, he was free to kill more people, but Junimo Shi wasn't a mad murderer either. Killing the Wen clan was enough to avenge the celestial palace of the immortals. Besides, he had told Lin Feng himself to take Wen Ao Shui's body back to the Wen clan. After bringing her body back to the Wen clan, Lin Feng didn't head back to Jiang. He took out his boat and headed to the northern part of Ba Huang. He didn't need to worry about Jiang anymore. The Sword Emperor had recovered. Wu was going to take care of the Palace of Medicinal Kings. Lin Feng didn't have many things to sort out anymore in Ba Huang province. That little boy had left his village and wanted to recreate Tiantai, so Lin Feng had to do something. He was going to find him. In the northern part of Ba Huang, in Tianjing City, the city where Tiantai used to be, Lin Feng went to a restaurant. That restaurant was called Tianjing Restaurant. It had existed for a long time. It was one of the most famous restaurants in town. Lin Feng hoped to find some pieces of information there. Lin Feng couldn't find Xiaoqin in the northern part of Ba Huang. Therefore, he could only try to find some information about him in this restaurant. At that moment, he had already been sitting in that restaurant for 4 hours and finally, he heard some people talk about Yiqin. Tianlong's 10th prince is really strong indeed. I heard that when he was a cultivator of the very top of the Zunqi layer, at the Zun level, nobody could compete with him anymore. Now, Tianlong Divine Castle's people are looking for Yiqin. He's going to die. Indeed. The 10th prince is really strong. He will soon break through to the Huangqi layer. Maybe then he will manage to make Tianlong Divine Castle come back to life. And since Yiqin wants to rebuild Tiantai, the 10th prince can't possibly forgive him. The people in the bar were talking. Lin Feng looked at them and asked, "Everybody back then, didn't Lin Feng kill all the princes of Tianlong Divine Castle? Where does that 10th prince come from?" "Are you a foreigner?" asked those people. Lin Feng smiled and nodded back. "Indeed, I just arrived in the northern part of Ba Huang. Nobody knows who the 10th prince is, but he's always had a high social status in Tianlong Divine Castle. People just call him the 10th prince. Now he wants to resurrect Tianlong Divine Castle, so some former members of Tianlong Divine Castle gathered to recreate their group." Dragon scales appeared around his body. He had the dragon transformation ability of Tianlong Divine Castle. Uncle Lin Feng killed the 9 other princes. "If he were here, you wouldn't dare act that arrogantly," laughed Yiqin, smiling coldly. "Even if he were here now, I'd kill him," swore the 10th prince furiously and loudly. His bestial chi had surrounded Yiqin. "Is that so?" said another voice at that moment. The 10th prince frowned and glanced around. Who was talking to him? The 10th prince limply fell down from the sky and crashed to the ground before the eyes of the villagers. The 10th prince was so strong, and Lin Feng had killed him by simple looking at him? And the 10th prince had dared say he could easily kill Lin Feng? To Lin Feng, the 10th prince was just a buffoon. He didn't care about him at all. And he didn't need to tell him about his cultivation level. They weren't friends. "Uncle Lin Feng," said Yiqin. Lin Feng turned around and smiled at that young man. "You were just a boy and now you're almost a grown-up." When Yiqin heard Lin Feng, he smiled widely and scratched his head. "Uncle Lin Feng, I've heard that you left the small world and that you went to the great world. Is that true?" "Indeed," Lin Feng nodded. "So, are you going to leave again?" asked Yiqin. He still sounded like a child in front of Lin Feng, but not in front of his teacher. "Of course." Lin Feng smiled. Yiqin wanted to say something, but the words didn't come out. Finally, he managed to say, "Uncle Lin Feng, I want to come with you to the great world." "Xiaoqin, the great world is even more dangerous than the small world. There are too many strong cultivators there. There are millions, if not billions of people who are stronger than me in the great world. It's very dangerous. And also, if you leave, what will happen to your family in the village?" said Lin Feng, put his hand on Xiaoqian's shoulders and smiled. "I'm not afraid," declared Yiqin. He looked at the crowd and smiled. "Teacher, Grandpa Wang, Grandma Gao, uncles and aunties, you support me, you want me to go to the great world, right? Xiaoqin, you can go. You're the strongest cultivator of the village. We obviously don't hope that you'll stay in the village forever. You can come back sometimes. That's enough. Don't be like me, who stayed here to teach cultivation to children," said the master. "You can go, kiddo," the old people of the village all spoke up. "Go and explore the great world. When you have time, come back and tell us about it." "All right," agreed Xiaoqin, nodding happily. Then he promised, "When I become strong, I will come back and help you have long and happy lives." Lin Feng watched him calmly and sighed. In the cultivation world, people like Xiaoqin were rare. He was a cultivator of the top of the Zunqi layer, and he had retained the heart of a child. That was probably why he had become so strong. "I will take care of Xiaoqin," Yi Shui promised the crowd. At that moment, the 3 of them were already in front of the villagers. "Auntie, I should take care of you," laughed Yiqin. "All right, it's all good," said the master, before turning to Lin Feng and saying, "Lin Feng, Xiaoqin knows everything about you and has told us everything about you. Nobody is as strong as you in Ba Huang. Please take care of them in the great world." Chapter 1838, worried about them. Ba Huang Province, which had been quiet for a long time after the Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings had taken control over the region, suddenly stirred up. Those two groups, the Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings, had been wiped off the map of the region, and all their strong cultivators had been killed. It was said that it was because they had joined hands to destroy the celestial palace of the immortals. Ju Nemo she had come back and avenged them. The strong cultivators of the Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings had been killed outside of Jianghe. The Wen clan and the Palace of Medicinal Kings had been destroyed by two young people who weren't even famous in the small world. At the same time, the news spread that the reason why the Wen clan had been destroyed outside of Jianghe was that someone had ordered them, as well as the patriarch of the Xiaoyao sect, to go there. Many people were wondering who that could be, but at the same time, they already knew it was Jianghe's young master, Lin Feng. Ju Nemo Shi and Lin Feng were good friends, and now they had come back together. Nobody could compete with them. Very quickly, more news spread in the northern part of Ba Huang. Some people saw two of Tiantai's former direct disciples at the former site of Tiantai. Ho Qing Lin, who controlled reincarnation energy, and Tian Qi the sadhu. They had become extremely strong. Some people pretended that they had seen how strong Ho Qing Lin had become, that one glance at him and he gave you the impression that you could fall in the abysses of reincarnation. The crowd understood that Tiantai's disciples had gone to the great world, and now they had come back. However, Lin Feng had suddenly left Ba Huang. He was in his boat and flying at full speed. He had never traveled that fast in the small world, so he had the impression that it had become a lot smaller. The small world was the same though, it hadn't become smaller. Lin Feng was just too fast now, and his cultivation level was powerful. Things appeared and disappeared from his field of vision in the blink of an eye. Tian Qi hadn't changed. Back then, their two teachers hadn't followed them when they had decided to go to the great world. They had decided to stay in the small world and practice there. Lin Feng didn't know where they were, but Tian Qi Empire hadn't changed and they still ruled over Ganyu. Lin Feng slowed down when he arrived there, landing on the ground and walking in the snow, leaving footprints behind him. Some of Tian Qi's disciples glanced at him. Lin Feng was wearing white clothes. He looked calm, serene, and friendly, but at the same time he looked extraordinary even though one couldn't see how strong he was. "I don't know where he's from, but he looks really strong," said some people after passing next to Lin Feng. They didn't stop, however. Lin Feng continued walking. Huo Yun shouted for a long time, but nobody appeared. She started crying, hot tears spilling down her cheeks. Finally, she gave up, taking the scriptures and the seven-colored Taoist robe made of feathers and whispered, "Lin Feng, I know you're here." "Is it him?" shouted Tian Qi extremely loudly, her voice spreading everywhere. Indeed, ancient scriptures and imperial weapons, that could only be Lin Feng, otherwise he wouldn't have offered them to Huo Yun. However, he hadn't even showed himself. It seemed that he had left. Tiantai has been reborn in the boundless world. Huo Yun could almost hear that voice in her brain. She put the scriptures and the imperial weapon away and left. She didn't continue looking for Lin Feng. She knew that if Lin Feng had wanted to see her, he would have come. If he didn't want to see her, she couldn't force him. She was stunned, but elated. Tiantai had been reborn in the great world. Tian Qi Shui looked around, but also saw nothing. Lin Feng simply flew away. He had come back to the small world. He wanted to see the people who really mattered to him. His family, his close friends. He hoped they were all fine. If Huo Yun wanted to find Tiantai, she could try and find Tiantai. With the ancient scriptures and the imperial weapon, she could protect herself. After leaving the snowy mountains, Lin Feng crossed Dragon Mountain. He went to the Tang clan, but Tang Yi and Tang Rui had already left. The elders were still there, however. The tree was still there in the garden, where Lin Feng remembered Yu. He didn't know where she was. Mr. Tang told Lin Feng that Yu had never come back since the last time. Lin Feng was very worried. Maybe she hadn't come back because she had gone to the great world. It had been 10 years, she would have had no reason not to come back. Lin Feng didn't spend too much time at the Tangs. He gave some presents to her parents and left. He didn't go to the imperial palace this time. He didn't need to go, Ju Nemo she had come back to the small world and would be able to go himself. He had to get back to Shuiyu. He hadn't been back for 10 years. Wu Shang had probably grown up. Chapter 1839. Small King of the Underworld. Shuiyu had changed a lot. After all the emperors had come to Shuiyu, the Netherworld Demon Emperor and Empress Shi's small worlds had appeared, and their qi covered the whole country. Shuiyu had become a paradise for cultivators, and many people came to Shuiyu to practice cultivation. The country had been developing for 10 years already, and it wasn't a country anymore, it was now an empire, the Empire of Shuiyu. It had also become much bigger. Some neighboring countries had been absorbed by the Empire of Shuiyu. Shuiyu now ruled over the whole Shuiyu region. Dragon Mountain, Black Feather, and so on were low-level empires. The Empire of Shuiyu had already surpassed them. There were many geniuses in the Empire of Shuiyu. There were millions and millions of Tian-level cultivators there, and sometimes one could see Zun cultivators too. In a place like Shuiyu, Tian and Zun-level cultivators were considered extremely strong. Yangzhou City was the capital of the empire and was developing very quickly. Living conditions were better there than anywhere else in the country. Everybody wanted to move to Yangzhou City, where there were many strong cultivators and many cultivation resources. People were rich there. Lin Feng would find it difficult to recognize Yangzhou City this time. Everything had changed. There were lofty buildings and skyscrapers everywhere. There were also gigantic parks, luxury restaurants, and hotels. The Lovesickness Forest restaurant was a famous restaurant there, and was known for having the best alcohol in the country. It was said that the Lovesickness Forest was a place in the former capital where the First Lady of the Empire had lived for a long time. Back then, the imperial city of Shuiyu wasn't Yangzhou City. No other restaurant had liquors quite as good as theirs. In the Lovesickness Forest restaurant, there were the most beautiful women and the best liquors. Everybody said that when traveling to Yangzhou City, you had to go to the Lovesickness Forest restaurant and drink their strongest liquor. That way, you could see the most beautiful women. The Lovesickness Forest restaurant was an open-air restaurant. It was neither luxuriant nor extravagant, but the decorations were tasteful and the place was quite spacious. There were many pavilions of people who were drinking all sorts of strong alcohol. Beautiful women were dancing here and there. There were many young men who had the strength of the Zun Qi layer, but when they drank the specialty of the restaurant, their cheeks still turned red. The women who were dancing were half naked and looked extremely beautiful. Men loved that kind of place, even 15-year-old teenage boys loved the place. Besides, not only did those women look seductive, they also knew how to dance properly. Brilliant! That young man was strong and could easily defeat them. He had broken through to the Zun Qi layer. Umph! The teenager stood up, looking furious as he said, "Stop." When the young man saw the speaker who was even younger than him, he smiled coldly and put his hand on the woman's face. He smiled and said, "Who are you?" The furious young man was even more furious. Some people surprisingly didn't recognize him. In Yangzhou City, everybody knew him because he was famous. "Lin Wushang," said the young man icily and walking forwards. "Small King of the Underworld, Lin Wushang." Even though the young man had never seen Wushang, he had heard about him. In Yangzhou City, everybody knew about Small King of the Underworld Wushang. He was very famous. He had broken through to the Xianqi layer when he was 9 years old, and through to the Tianqi layer when he was 12, and now he was 15 and had broken through to the Zunqi layer. He was strong, but he also had an incredible social status because of his brother, Lin Feng. Of course, the only woman who dared tease him was Xiao Ya, nicknamed the Evil Queen. The Evil Queen had raised him with punches. She was very strict. Words were useless on him. Lin Wushang already controlled Earth abstruse energies. He started by throwing a fist out. However, his punch ended up moving towards the woman, so he had no choice but to recall his energies. The young man had put the woman in front of him. At that moment, that young man punched out, using a golden punch which immediately crashed onto Wushang's body. The young man's big brother was confident. The Small King of the Underworld? They were in a tiny little empire. Xiao Yi didn't move either. She was also confident that the Small King of the Underworld would solve the problem. She would just watch, even if Lin Wushang got injured. People who had such weapons were from powerful families. Xiaoya wished Lin Feng had been there. Even though many strong cultivators protected the palace, they were just cultivators of the top of the Zunqi layer. They couldn't fight against people who had imperial weapons. If their enemies followed them here, the situation could quickly deteriorate. Xiaoya, what's going on? Asked Lin Hai. He arrived and saw that one of Wushang's arms had been cut off. He was astonished and very sad. Who had cut off his son's arm? Uncle Lin, we came across some powerful people. Go and inform everyone, please. We must get ready to escape, Xiaoya said to Lin Hai. Lin Hai was stupefied. Some people dare defend their family in the empire of Shuiyu? But since Xiaoya talked that way, it was serious. They had to react quickly. Besides, Lin Wushang was badly injured. He might die from his injuries. Wushang, will you be all right? Lin Hai asked Wushang. Uncle Lin, it's nothing incurable, spat Xiaoya. Lin Hai just replied, all right, let's retreat for now. I'm going to inform the two strong cultivators of Jiang'e. Chapter 1841. Jiu in the small world. Everybody used to think that their world was the continent of the 9 clouds. Now, everybody understood that it was only a subpart of it. At the center of the small world was Ba Huang and Jiu. Ba Huang was a place with a sea made of desolate qi. When thinking about Jiu, most people thought of the 12 empires, but they rarely thought of the origins of that place. In the central part of Jiu, in a remote and inhabited place, everything was black. There were gigantic rivers, and the waters of those rivers were black, too. It was a forbidden area, the forbidden area of Jiu. According to legends, people who went there usually died, so nobody dared go there, creating one of the forbidden areas of the small world. This place couldn't be compared to the forbidden area of Ganyu, the Death Valley. Even in the ancient times, emperors didn't dare go to the forbidden area of Jiu. However, this time, some people had broken the rules. There was a group of people flying above the black waters of Jiu. They looked extraordinary, and all of them were staring at the water. A gigantic whirlpool hundreds of meters wide yawned beneath them, as big as a city, and looked incredible. It was impossible to know how deep it went. Jiu referred to the 9 netherworlds as opposed to the 9 clouds. According to legends, this whirlpool led to hell and contained evil palaces. At least in the small world, nobody dared go there. When people went there, they could die, and in any case, they ended up in the 9 netherworlds, which was like taking a trip to hell. However, on that day, these people were an exception. Someone turned black like the water of the 9 netherworlds, looking like a living corpse from hell. That person jumped into the water. A powerful strength tried to corrode his body, but it didn't affect him. Surprisingly, he could stay in the 9 netherworlds, in the forbidden area of Jiu. Will the 9 netherworlds explode? Asked someone at that moment. The person in the black waters raised their head and looked up. He said, the strength is fermenting. The eruption is imminent. The other person nodded, their eyes twinkled. The demon-sealing sage sealed a great world in his small world, and hid it here. We've been looking for 5,000 years and finally, we've found it. We'll obtain great things. Indeed, replied the person in the water. They looked a bit scared and asked, do you think he left an imprint in this small world? The 9 netherworlds are useless to him. Even if he left an imprint and knows we're here, I don't think he cares much, answered the person in the air. By the way, did you do what I asked you? I asked some young people to take care of it. They went to Shuiyu to check. Since Shuiyu is the demon-sealing emperor's homeland, he sealed a world here for that reason. I've heard that the netherworld demon emperor and empress she had appeared in Shuiyu. I wonder if historical remains have appeared too, said the person in the black waters. The other person nodded and continued looking around. People from the small world knew nothing about what was happening there. After coming into this world, these people had remained very discreet and had directly gone here. Apart from the demon sealer's things, they weren't interested in anything else in this world except Shuiyu, because it was his homeland. Lin Feng didn't know about them either, obviously. When those people had come into the small world, the strong cultivator of the celestial palace of the punishing thunders hadn't dared say anything. He had held his tongue, and he didn't tell Lin Feng and the others about them either. The celestial palace of the punishing thunders couldn't afford offending these people, who could kill their cultivators just by glancing at them. Even Qingdi Mountain didn't dare offend such people. At that moment, Lin Feng was walking through Shuiyu, enjoying the landscapes. It felt good to be there, and he was smiling happily. In the distance, he saw Yangzhou City. Yangzhou City has become so big. It's much bigger than before, smiled Lin Feng. Finally, he was back. He had left his family and friends for such a long time. If they wanted to, he could take all the people from Yangzhou City back with him and nothing would happen to them. Dad, Mom, I'm back, proclaimed Lin Feng, smiling widely. And Xiaoya, Xang Yi, and the others, how were they doing? Little Wu Shang, you must have grown up. What do you look like now? Thought Lin Feng happily. How was everyone after 10 years? Lin Feng's godly awareness suddenly started shaking. He stopped smiling and frowned angrily. The thread of godly awareness is broken, thought Lin Feng suddenly. Back when he had left, he had given everyone a thread of godly awareness. Nothing had happened to those threads of energies in the last 10 years. The only possibility was that something serious had happened. His smile disappeared and he started moving like lightning. His boat appeared and he turned into a light beam. In the blink of an eye, people in Yangzhou City sensed a powerful strength in the sky. Many vendors' booths were even blown away. They raised their heads and only saw a beam of light passing by. Chapter 1842, Jiao Yu's government. The two young men from the Lovesickness Forest restaurant were already in the imperial palace of Yangzhou City. People around them were terrified. For them, this was a holy place, a symbol of the prosperity of Yangzhou City. There were many Zun cultivators in the imperial palace. Now they were in danger. An arrogant-looking young man was holding a gigantic golden blade. His blade contained a powerful strength which terrified people. It seems to be an imperial weapon. Back then, when the Netherworld Demon Emperor's small world appeared, many strong cultivators there had imperial weapons. Thanks to their imperial weapons, they were extremely strong. With those people and their imperial weapons, Yangzhou City's imperial palace is in danger, thought the crowd, shaking and staring at the guards of the imperial city. The strong cultivators from Jianghe were all injured now. Come here and die. Maybe I will spare their lives if you do, sneered the young man, smiling icily. He was looking for Lin Wushang. Young master, go and hide in the deployment spell, said the strong cultivators of Jianghe. Even though the opponent's cultivation level wasn't high, their imperial weapons were high-level ones. They were much more powerful than the imperial weapons the Qi clan had used back then, and contained very hard gold cosmic energies. They had to be much stronger to fight against people who had such weapons. A man has to bear the consequences for his actions. Therefore, I have to bear the consequences of my actions, said Lin Wushang, grinding his teeth. Wushang, shouted Xiaoya. What could we tell your parents if something happened, and your brother? Lin Wushang's eyes were bloodshot. He looked at Lin Hai and Yu Menghe and said, Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. I won't regret anything if something happens. If something happens to me, it means I'm weak. Don't avenge me if I die. Let Lin Feng do it. Wu Shang, you're not allowed to go, cried Yu Menghe. She had only one son by her side. How could she let him die? This bunch of insects is really noisy, said the young man, cutting the air. In a flash, fissures appeared in the sky. The small world couldn't handle such a powerful attack, as spatial tears appeared everywhere. Move away, said Xiaoya, throwing herself at the blade energies. Thunder clapped, and Lin Wushang's face changed drastically as he shouted, Sister Xiaoya. There was another crack of thunder, and a bright light appeared. A curtain of lights surrounded Xiaoya. The attack didn't kill her, but she had landed in a fissure. Xiaoya, shouted Lin Feng furiously. He had arrived, and charged towards the fissure. Lin Feng landed in the fissure, his face like a madman. The fissures didn't affect him at all. He immediately jumped into the lights. Xiao Ya, shouted Lin Feng. Lights appeared and surrounded her body, preventing her from dying.